breathing room. Ready when you are.
Oh, that's right. Breaks. Welcome, sports fans. It's been a long weekend. A lot of football's been played. I'd like to welcome you to the Sports Blitz and introduce to you your host, Mark Freeman.
What's going on, everybody? What a weekend in sports. I guess I should turn it up, Dave. You've turned me up a little bit. Maybe I need to get a little more excited because you're a little excited
Come
to
on
start
up a
the show.
notch.
I'll bump it up a notch. Oh, man, Hogs got a 49-28 win over Texas Tech. That was basically our Kool-Aid Minute on Friday. That's where we were.
Yes,
if Arkansas does this, they'll win in this way. And that's exactly what happened. Arkansas imposed its will. We'll talk a lot about that game today. We'll even start the previewing of Northern Illinois. Arkansas, a 2-touchdown favorite at home in Fayetteville against Northern Illinois. So that's going to be a big game this Saturday. I got to be at a wedding, so I can't go. Can't really even watch the game. Well, actually, I guess I'll watch the game. It starts at 6. Wedding's at 4. Ed Woods, you just better know I love you. We got high school football, college football, NFL. It's going to be football heavy, but there's a little basketball news in there as well. Those of you that know me know I love me some basketball. So we'll talk basketball in a little bit. Controversy. Again, the NFL probably had the worst week of its history last week with all of the controversy, the Ray Rice situation, the Goodell, what did he know, when did he know it type stuff. And then Adrian Peterson. Apparently, he was suspended for week 2. He was deactivated by the Minnesota Vikings for he was arrested for child abuse charges. He was arrested because he, quote, whooped his child with a switch. I want to give my thoughts on that. It's a very delicate and nuanced topic, but I'm hearing the exact opposite of my view from everyone else. So, hey, this is my show.
Put it out
I'll
there.
give my opinion.
Right.
And I know there are folks who agree, folks who disagree. I heard Colin Cowherd this morning call me wrong guy.
Oh.
Not personally, but people who believe like I believe. He called wrong guy, and he said that every day we've just got these idiots calling my show, and he said 1% of the people in the world call my show, and 1% of the people that listen to my show call my show, and it's the same 9 idiots every day. Basically, he's calling his audience morons just over and over, and saying everybody who wants to call or email or tweet or whatever is an idiot,
right?
And everybody who agrees with him naturally.
That always makes you look really good when you're talking about abusing people. When you're verbally abusive in your effort to put down abuse, that's always a strong backup for you.
Yeah, so it's a very delicate topic, and I want to hit it here in a little bit. That's probably not the proper word to say when I talk about abuse, but I want to talk about it and delve deeply into the topic. I was the topic of conversation apparently on Fort Smith Radio this morning. That's interesting to me. I replied to a tweet that I saw from a Fort Smith radio host who I hope calls today. I gave him open invite, emailed him, asked him if he would call, and if Derek Ruskin will call, then I'll talk to him about. He's the host of the Morning Rush, and he is on the opposite side of where I stand on this issue. We'll get into it here in a little bit. We want to hear from you today. Give us a call at 968 News. We're here till noon. 968-6397. You can go to Facebook and answer today's CrossFit Russellville poll question. It's facebook.com/sportsblitz. It's basically about the Hogs. Did you think that this was coming? And when you saw the Hogs win this game, did it change your outlook on the rest of the season? Did you expect Arkansas excuse me, Did you expect Arkansas to win this game? And if you did or if you didn't, did this change your win total? Did this fire you up more for Northern Illinois? Did this give you the thought that Arkansas could beat Texas A&M? I woke up on Sunday morning thinking there are only a couple games now that I don't think Arkansas has a chance in.
Right.
And there were a handful before.
Yeah.
Now, I thought A&M, Alabama, Georgia, LSU,
right,
and probably Ole Miss, you don't have a chance in. Now, you can possibly beat Ole Miss. You can possibly beat Mississippi State. And really, LSU is normally a pretty good game every year. Missouri hadn't looked great, but I thought you had a chance to win in those games, and those others you just didn't.
Right.
I'm not so sure about LSU beating Arkansas as badly as I thought before. I'm not so sure that Missouri is gonna beat Arkansas the way that I thought they would. And A&M, as great as they've looked in the first two games, last night Saturday they didn't look all that great. So I think Arkansas can hang with Kenny Trill and A&M. So we'll talk about that here in a little bit. Let's start real quickly with our local sports look. A bunch of high school football this weekend and some pretty good wins for local teams. Now the Russellville Cyclones fell 7-6 to Rogers Heritage. Had their chances, kicked a couple field goals when they could have scored touchdowns, and they fall 7-6 there on the road. Heartbreaking loss for Russellville. Of course, it doesn't matter either, though. They've got the 6A, 7A schedule where they only have to win 3 games this year. The 6A games that they play are the only ones that really matter. Coach Holt was sort of lamented that when he came on the show. But this isn't one of those games. So it would have been really, really nice to win it, and Russellville go to 3-0 would have been really good, or 2-0, I guess. They beat Morrilton, and then they could have beaten Rogers Heritage, but would have been nice to have won it. But they fell on the road on Friday night to Heritage. Pottsville, goodness, 400 yards rushing, and the dead tee of Brian Rust and his Apaches win 43-13 over Morrilton. That's your defending 5A state champs. I'm learning a little bit about Morrilton as the season goes on. They lost something like 17 starters out of 22 to graduation, so they are down a lot. And Pottsville made them pay 43-13 on Friday night. I had a friend who wanted to go to Pottsville and watch that Morrilton game. He's a coach at Pottsville. His wife is a teacher and coach at Dardanelle, and they wanted to go to that Dardanelle game. Both of them were basically over by the time they got there. Dardanelle beat Boonville, who is the 4A defending state champ, moved down to 3A, 28-0 on Friday night. That's a statement win for Coach Josh Price and his Sand Lizards to win 28-0 against a great team. Boonville's not a good team. They're they're going to compete for the 3A state championship this year. They won it last year in 4A, moved down a classification. And Dardanelle, at home at Keenan Field, made a statement on Friday night. A great, great win for Coach Price and his squad there. Looking forward to seeing Dardanelle Pottsville in a couple weeks. That one's going to be an incredible football. That's going to be button heads like two bulls, as they used to say in the WWF. I'm looking forward to that game. That's going to be clashes, styles, and speed and athleticism all over the place. It's been a really good one the last few years. Dover. Break up the Dover Pirates.
Yeah.
They lost 10 games in a row last year, won their last 2. They just beat Cedarville 35-0 after they beat Atkins 51-20 last week. 2-0. The Dover Pirates. Congratulations, Coach Greg Smith and your squad there. Looking to try to get a hold of Coach Smith to talk to him about this Dover Pirates football team. Because, man, they've been a revelation this year.
He's doing something right over there.
They'd been in so much trouble, man. He had been, I think he was at Prescott before, and he'd had a lot of success in the high school football realm. And Dover had been really good, and they just come on some tough times the last 5 years. And he got there in his first couple of years. It was just no wins, 1 win, 2 wins. And this year it was sort of one of those things, well, is he going to get it done or is he going to get out of here sort of thing? I'm just hearing rumblings from people. Yeah. Now they're 2-0, and they've got a chance to make noise there in the 4A4. So that's a big win.
Yes, sir.
For Coach Smith there. Lamar, 39-20 winners over Subiaco Academy. Shout out to Braxton Sampley, 4 touchdown passes in that game. Lamar, a very, very good-looking football team early on in the 3A. And it's now interesting because Charleston, defending 3A champ, looks really, really good. Ty Story, future Razorback commit signee. He's everybody knows about him. He's in the same conference as Lamar this year. Lamar last year was right there with Charleston at home, and Ty Story threw 3 interceptions. Lamar was right there in the game, could not make the plays that they needed to overcome the extreme talent of Charleston. Charleston goes on and wins the state championship. Boonville wins 4A, moves down in the same stinking conference as Lamar and Charleston.
That conference is loaded.
Oh, my God. It might be one of the top three most loaded conferences in all classifications.
Yeah.
With the top three.
That's going to make for some good football.
Well, it will, but it's also going to leave a good team at third place. A really good team. I think Lamar was ranked number 4 in the state.
Yeah.
Charleston was ranked number 1. Boonville was ranked number 2, and Lamar was like number 4 in the state in 3A. And they're in the same conference as the 1 and 2.
Reminds me of the SEC a little bit.
Well, it does, but
why
it's even worse
than that.
than that.
The SEC just outperforms the other conferences? I think it's the competition.
Yeah, part of it I think is that Boonville should have. I know it's geographic, and they don't really care about how good the teams are, but it would have been nice to see Boonville in another conference.
Yeah.
Either way, Lamar, they got a 39-20 win over Subiaco. Two Rivers 50-27 over Perryville. Clarksville fell 34-14 to Ozark. Not a big fan of that. As a former Panther, to watch Ozark win a game at all, it's like my favorite teams in college football are Arkansas and whoever's playing Texas.
Yes.
My two favorite high school teams are, and I can't really have favorites anymore when I'm covering these teams locally,
right.
but I'm from Clarksville, so I root for Clarksville, and then whoever's playing Ozark. That's sort of the way that goes. So that's a tough one there. Went last year on my 10-year reunion. Clarksville beat Ozark. It was a surprise. It was an upset, and Panthers
Beautiful
won.
day.
But that was a year ago. Atkins 27-13 winners over Bigelow. Congratulations to the Red Devils bouncing back from a tough loss in the Rivals Cup there to start the season against Dover. Danville beat Mount Ida 28-14 and Hector 20-6 over Hackett. I've heard that was a rough field to play on, a rough environment there in Hackett, and Hector was able to overcome it all, get a win there to move to 2-0. There are several teams here on this sheet that I know are going to make noise this year, and I'm looking forward to the high school football playoffs. I know that's a ways away. I don't want to sort of wish time away because I enjoy football season so much, but I'm looking forward to seeing some of these teams go down the stretch and play pretty well, go into the playoffs, and make some noise. So, again, this week, Atkins is at Two Rivers. Clarksville hosts Dardanelle. Danville is at Bigelow. Dover hosts Mayflower. Hector's at Hartford. Lamar hosts Perryville. Russellville, Pottsville. That's the game of the week by a long shot. It's at Russellville here at Cyclone Stadium. So if you're a Russellville fan, if you're a football fan and your team's away and you can't make the trip, get to Cyclone Stadium on Friday night. That's going to be a great game. Russellville, Pottsville. Two Rivers hosts Atkins. Western Yale County is hosting Subiaco Academy. Western Yale, I should make a mention, they beat Johnson County Westside Friday night, so that's a big win for them as well. And that's your high school football rundown. I want to take a break real quickly, David, because when I get back, I want to look at the Razorbacks against Texas Tech. I want to look at the wire-related topics. Normally I save Razorback stuff for the end, but I've been pushing it down so far with all the other stuff going on. I haven't talked as much about it. So I want to come back and talk Razorbacks against Texas Tech. I know there's folks who want to call. You can give us a call at 968-NEWS. It's 968-6397. We'd love to hear from you today about the Razorbacks 49-28 over Texas Tech. We'll be back after this break.
Hi folks, Richard Roberts with Cogswell Motors in Russellville. A dealership doesn't stay in business that long under the same ownership unless you're doing something right, and that's taking care of customers. We have the largest selection of new Ford, Lincoln, Mazda, and pre-owned vehicles in the River Valley. So if you want the most for your trade, the best interest rate on financing, and the best price on a new or pre-owned automobile, come to Russellville and see us. We're at 1900 East Main, or visit us on the web at cogswellmotors.com.
If you didn't count on KARK4 today this morning,
here's what you missed.
Updated news.
Police continue searching for suspects after a home intrusion overnight.
Developing stories.
There's another piece of presidential history turning up here in Arkansas.
And weather and traffic on the force.
Friday night, Saturday morning will bring us our next chance rain.
Every 10 minutes.
Around the clock.
Making your day easier.
So rise and shine and count on.
Count on.
Count on KARK4 today.
Today, there are more than 20 brands of cars being sold in America. So to be noticed, Ford and Cogswell Motors have to go further than anyone thought we could. How does Ford stand out above the crowd? Not just with plug-in vehicles like the new 2013 Ford Fusion Energy that gets a projected 100 miles per gallon equivalent, but also with a line of gas vehicles equipped with the innovative EcoBoost engines combining power and efficiency, plus a full measure of technologically advanced features. We invite you to stop into Cogswell Motors today. We go further than anyone thought we could, so that you can go further too.
RiverValleyLeader.com is the #1 local source for instant news in the River Valley, offering
Good to go, David? Welcome back into the Sports Blitz on a Monday. Dave Brown in here covering for Maddie Lassiter, whose alarm went off at 11, apparently. So he's out for the day. Appreciate your patience with us today. We started a little late, and it's all right. We got all the time in the world. This is the internet. We can talk all day. We can say any words we want, too. If we wanted to. Maddie did a couple weeks ago. He said a few things. I was just like, oh, if this were radio, we'd be in trouble. If this were TV, we would be getting a letter from the FCC. But we're on the internet. So give us a call, 968-NEWS, 968-6397. This Adrian Peterson stuff, man. He's expected to play this week. But, man, I'm seeing comments on Facebook about, my opinion is not very popular.
Well, let's get at what's the thing. I mean, what actually happened? What are the facts of what happened with him?
Well, the facts are he whipped his child with the switch, and a week later they took pictures, and there were still marks where he had whipped. I say it was a week. I don't know. It was a week. They say
sometime
it was a week.
later.
There were pictures taken of this kid, and it's a 4-year-old, and there are marks. I don't condone child abuse. I don't want people, but I do, and I really didn't want to get into this yet, but I will. I do think that you ought to discipline your children. I do think, apparently, the story goes that it was his 4-year-old son, and one of his other kids was on a little toy horse, and this kid came up and pushed him off of it. Well, he was going to discipline him for doing something he didn't think he should be doing, and he goes and whips him with this switch. Apparently, the switch wrapped around the kid's leg, and it got him in a couple of different places, including a very tender place.
Sure.
And nobody's saying that it's, good, do it more. Just whip him harder next time. No, nobody's saying that. But my thought is, like, you may not believe the way I believe, but the way I believe, you discipline your children so that they don't grow up to make stupid decisions all the time, and so that they know better than to do certain things. You're pushing a kid off of a horse, and you shouldn't do that. Sometimes just talking to him and putting him in the corner doesn't work. Maybe he'd already done something like that. I don't know. Maybe he'd already given the kid a timeout.
Right.
Maybe he'd already had him put his nose in the corner. I don't know.
Yeah.
But if that doesn't work and you spank your kid, I'm not going to call for your job, or it's just, to me, it's getting to the point where we're almost legislating against Christianity.
Yeah.
I can just say it the way it is.
Right.
If you look at the Bible, what it says about if you spare the rod, you spoil the child. Another rendering says you hate the child.
Right.
That tells me that Christian people who believe this understand, okay, if I want to discipline my child and the last resort is to spank this child, and I don't do it, I'm telling him that I hate him because I don't want you to make the right decisions. I'll just let you go do whatever you want. So I'm not saying that it's okay for Adrian Peterson to beat his child senseless, but I don't think, and I didn't look at all the pictures. I saw a couple of them, and I don't think that rose to the level of, let's go arrest this guy for child abuse. Yeah, he left marks on the kid because he whipped him with a switch. I don't know how often you've been whipped with a switch, but I have
regularly. There's a child, I will confess.
And I'm not saying that it's okay for everybody who goes and whips kids to do what they do, because sometimes people go overboard. Sometimes people whip kids when they're really mad and they hit them 25 times and they shouldn't. That I'm not saying go overboard, but what I saw from Adrian Peterson in these pictures didn't rise to the level of abuse for me. This is a really, really big NFL football player and a 4-year-old.
Right.
If he wanted to hurt the kid, He could have done much, much more damage
Right.
than this. I don't think he meant to hurt the kid.
Right. So to be clear, I mean, you're saying you can take it too far.
Oh, absolutely.
It just
you can
doesn't
take it too
appear
far.
from what you can know about this case that it went too far.
And it is-
How
it
would
is a
you gauge
case-by-case
society?
thing.
Do you think society today is too difficult in terms of disciplining their kids, or too lenient in terms of disciplining their kids?
What do you think?
Well, I mean, my opinion. I'm Dave Brown, and today, for this moment, I am helping to produce the Sports Blitz. And my opinion is exactly like Mark's. The Bible says, "Spare the rod, spoil the child." I think the proof of the pudding is in the eating. If you want to see the result of never saying the word no and never administering the Board of Education to the seat of learning, then just look at society. Look at the entitled people who have no respect for authority. And I think that's all of the answer that I need. Now, I would hasten to add that I think you can carry that too far.
Absolutely
I do
you can.
not condone abuse, but there again, it's like a straight and narrow road, to go back to the Bible. The way is narrow, and on the left side, there is the ditch of permissiveness. On the right side, there is a ditch of being too strict. And in the middle is where we walk. And I don't know what happened with Peterson, but I will say, from what I understand about it, it doesn't sound like that went too far.
You may think it did. You may think that any spanking of children is child abuse. All I've heard is this really abrasive language, like, "Oh, you're beating your child. He beat him."
Right.
No, I mean, you can call it what you will. I would consider it correction.
Yeah.
Right. You just incarcerated that well, we put them in the Department of Corrections. And how do people end up in the Department of Corrections? That's a long conversation I don't have time for today. So I will just say Adrian Peterson is going to be back with the Minnesota Vikings this week. I'll read a little bit of a statement from Vikings owner Ziggy Wilf and Mark Wilf. It says, "Today's decision was made after significant thought, discussion, and consideration, as evidenced by our decision to deactivate Adrian from yesterday's game. This is clearly a very important issue. On Friday, we felt it was in the best interest of the organization to step back, evaluate the situation, and not rush to judgment given the seriousness of this matter. At that time, we made the decision that we felt that was best for the Vikings and all parties involved. To be clear, we take very seriously any matter that involves the welfare of a child. At this time, however, we believe this is a matter of due process, and we should allow the legal system proceed so that we can come to the most effective conclusions and then determine the appropriate course of action. This is a difficult path to navigate, and our focus is on doing the right thing. Currently, we believe we are at a juncture where the most appropriate step is to allow the judicial process to move forward. We will continue to monitor the situation closely and support Adrian's fulfillment of his legal responsibilities throughout the process." The Vikings basically did what they had to do. He got arrested on Saturday, so he couldn't play Sunday. There's just no way that he could get there and play. It would have been such a huge distraction anyway. They had to deactivate him. Don't have an issue with that. It's a huge societal issue whether or not you should discipline your child by spanking or not. That's the rub. That's the conversation. So either you believe in it or you think it's abuse. There's no, it's not a thin line. It's a jump from one side to the other. You either believe that you can spank children or you think that it's child abuse, no matter
most
what.
definitely can spank children.
Well, Maddie's back in the house, and he's going to get his spankings after a while. David's going to whip
That was
his
just a
rear end
test
for
to
being
see if
late.
you guys could do it, and you passed.
Yeah.
Passed.
Well,
Passed test.
either way, I'm frustrated by the situation because it's crazy to me that you get arrested for trying to discipline your child. Like, if it were just like bruises up and down his body and they're just I don't know where the line is. I will admit that. I don't know where the line to where it's too much and it's child abuse is. But if there are scratches on a 4-year-old's body from a 30-year-old giant man who wants to discipline his child, I think if he meant to hurt the kid, he would have done a whole lot worse. So I'm not for child abuse. I hate. I look at my child and I think, man, if anybody ever hurt him, I would kill them. And I did. I looked at him this morning and I thought, man, I'm going to hate having to discipline him in that way. I hope it's the last thing I have to do. I hope I can talk to him and put him on the right path. But I know if he's anything like me, he's going to need that rod of correction, so to speak. And he's going to, every once in a while, he's going to get out of play. I didn't ever get a whipping from my papaw, ever. But he had the board, and I knew where it was. I knew what it looked like. I knew how hard it was. And it was a nice, thick board that he had right there. And if I needed it, I'd have got it. But I got right because I knew he was serious about it. And that's just sort of the way I think. I don't know. It's a big, big ordeal, and you come down on one side or the other. There's no in between on this.
You want to see the best argument in the world.
Yeah, you can go a lot of places and you can see arguments for whipping people. But all right. Anyway, I said I wanted to get to the Hogs. Let's get to the Hogs. 49-28 winners over Texas Tech. Maddie, dude, it was our Kool-Aid minute. I think, what did I put? I just said 30-27 was my score, but I didn't have a final score for the Kool-Aid minute. This would have been my Kool-Aid score, 49-28 for the Hogs. I didn't have enough confidence in their defense to think that they were going to be able to stop Texas Tech. I mean, I had Texas Tech at 28 or 27.
What did I say about Tevin Mitchell coming back? He was a big difference.
What did I say? If he did anything, it'd be the first time in 2 years.
I know.
The first 2 plays that they threw at him, back to back. What disrespect. They throw at Tevin Mitchell 2 times in a row. He bats both of them down, and Arkansas goes from there. There were mistakes. There were things that need to be corrected and things that Arkansas is going to work on throughout this week. But they've got Northern Illinois coming in to Fayetteville on Saturday.
Which I will be at the game
You'll
with
be there,
my parents
with
and
bells
my
on.
brother. Yeah,
Nice.
that's right.
Nice. I'm going to
I'll give an update.
going to be at a wedding, so I may go to B-Dubs or something afterward and watch. Or do something. I'll have to figure something out because can't make the trip.
Never see the earpiece, Mark.
Yeah, I would do that. That sounds like something I would do. Just put one in and just kind of run it through the shirt and in the pocket. What?
No, like Secret Service in there.
The wedding will be over, though, so it's okay. Anyway, Hogs just ran the ball down Texas Tech's throat. I got some statistics for you as the Hogs moved to 2-1. They ran the ball, and I don't know if you saw this stat at the end. They ran the ball the last 30 plays of the game.
Which I love.
Isn't that just like a emasculating, like we're going to run right there, and you can't stop it.
Well,
it's sort of like if a pitcher were to stand there and the catcher were to tell the batter, hey, he's throwing a fastball right down the middle. Good luck hitting it. That's sort of what Arkansas was doing. We're going to run this way or we're going to run that way, and you ain't going to be able to stop it.
That's right.
It was unbelievable. Arkansas just enforced whatever it wanted to do. It just imposed its will on Texas Tech. Big games rushing from Jonathan Williams and Alex Collins. I felt bad for Jonathan Williams that Alex Collins busted that 85-yarder, 84-yarder, because Jonathan Williams played the game of his life, and he was sort of overshadowed. He had 22 carries for 145 yards and 4 touchdowns. He averaged 6.6 yards a carry, had a long touchdown to 21 yards. But Alex Collins, who played well, don't want to take anything away from him, ended up with 27 carries for 212 yards, 2 touchdowns, 84-yard touchdown that basically broke the camel's back there for Arkansas. And, man, just exciting as a Hog fan to watch the Razorbacks do that to another team on the road when Texas Tech was favored all the way up until game day, and then everybody sort of had gone on to the other side, and Arkansas was favored. But for Arkansas to not have to throw the ball, they threw the ball 12 times, 61 yards passing, and then to come out and with a loaded box. And what did we say? What did we say was going to happen? All right, Texas Tech's going to load the box, and if Arkansas can get past the first level,
then it's
hello,
trouble.
Alex Collins. Who's going to make that tackle? There was nobody to make that tackle. And it was second-level tackling all day long, 7 yards a pop, just every single
And
play.
there were people kind of upset that we ran the ball those last 30 times, and they were thinking, well, we can't throw it. And I watching the game, I watched the game twice. I did not get that feeling at all. Like, we can't throw. It's just we don't need to. Why put the ball in the air if they cannot stop you running the ball?
Well, that's
They
what I was
cannot.
saying during when they ran the trick play inside the 20-yard line. I thought, what are you doing? Running a trick play. You run it down their throats all the way into the red zone,
that
and
was
you want to run a
cheating.
trick play. It was. And Bielema basically said, we don't need to get cute. We're running it right down their throats. Just keep running it. Yeah. Well, if you're getting 7 yards a pop, you don't even get to third down, and I don't have a problem at all with you run, whatever you got to do. If you're moving it, passing the ball, I don't have a problem if you never run it. I'm that way.
Yeah,
it's more exciting to watch passing.
We
but
gave them their first touchdown, and
Yeah.
of course they still earned it by getting into the end zone. But even so, that was a 3-and-out. Arkansas was going to have the
Yep.
ball. That beatdown should have been worse. and that's a 3-touchdown win on their home field.
Yep.
Now, not saying Arkansas is all this or that, but that says something. That is a real statement, way more than a Nichols game is. We're going to come into your stadium, you're a Power 5 conference team, and we are going to beat the living out of you.
Yeah.
And I love that.
Beat the living out of you.
I love that. I've been waiting for that. For how long have we been? The last time we beat a Power 5 conference was Kentucky in 2012. Kentucky.
This is what we were promised as Razorback fans. This is what you were hoping for. But
it's still not there yet.
Pump the brakes a little bit. This is Texas Tech. This isn't Texas A&M even. This isn't a power SEC team. I feel like Arkansas is going to make headway in that. We saw holes that you could drive a truck through against Auburn. Auburn made adjustments. They had the physical presence to stop Arkansas's run, and then things went downhill in the second half. I don't want to go overboard because when you play an SEC schedule, here in a couple weeks, you're playing Texas A&M. You're going to find out a lot more, and I don't think Texas A&M's defense is all that great. I think that could be a high-scoring
game. They gave up 300-ish near to Rice.
Yeah, I don't think they look great. But eventually you're going to come up against, and Georgia, they were giving up all kinds of points and yards running.
And they're too one-dimensional too. Not that I think we'll win that game, but there are some of these games that I look at now and the way that we know Arkansas can play.
Yep.
And you think, hey, if they put on their A game, Arkansas can easily win.
Arkansas and Georgia, this is going to sound like blasphemy, but they look pretty similar. Lots of running. Don't know if you can quite trust the quarterback yet. Great running back in Todd Gurley that it may take Alex Collins and Jonathan Williams to sort of match up with, but I don't think of that as a beatdown quite like I did before that Arkansas-Georgia game. Maybe call me crazy, but I'm excited about it. I think that Arkansas can compete, like I mentioned earlier. I think they can compete in nearly every game this year. If they can compete with Alabama, if they can compete with LSU, I don't see any games on the schedule that's just like an absolute murdering. It's just I think that there will be opportunities for Arkansas to win some games that you didn't expect them to win, and maybe that changed. Maybe that changed your thought. Maybe Saturday changed your thought on the Razorbacks. That's our CrossFit Russellville poll question today. Did it change anything for you watching this game? We got somebody on the line.
Jason.
All right, we got Jason on the line, and I know he's been waiting with bated breath to talk some Hogs today. What's up, Jason?
All right, first of all, before we get on the hog conversation there, I'm going to talk about Adrian Peterson real quick.
Okay.
I'm with you and David on this, man. You've got to be able to discipline your kids, and from everything that I read and seen on it, I think that's what he was doing. I don't think, like you were saying earlier, I mean, my goodness, if he's a big-time, humongous, big-built guy, and if he wanted to really hurt that kid, he could have. And, I mean, back in the day, dude, I used to have to go out and get a switch and then get a switch, to my butt or legs or whatever you want to call it. But, back in the day, man, there would be, I know, a million parents that would get in trouble for doing something like that. Today, I think society, like David was saying, it's just crazy how society has changed so much here in the last 10 or 15 years. It's okay to just let your kids run wild and do whatever they want to and, have no... when it comes to authority and stuff, they have no respect for authority, and it just drives me crazy because, like you're saying, Mark, that you want to teach your kids right and wrong, but, man, if you have to spank them or something, that's what you have to do to get their attention. My kids are 2 and 4, and I've already spanked both of them numerous times. It's something that if you don't teach them right and wrong, I think they're just going to keep going down that wrong path.
It's a cultural and spiritual beliefs type thing. Either you believe or you don't in this type of discipline. And if you somebody posted, Nathan Cossey posted here on my status about this. Like I said this morning on the radio, apparently I was a topic of conversation. Nathan Cossey said, where in the Bible does it say to beat your child? You can get a point across with a switch without physically abusing a toddler. Do you think Adrian Peterson was really quoting scripture while beating his kid? Doubt it. He said, dude, did you see the photos? That's a 4-year-old. Those were bruises, not marks. I completely agree with you that whipping a child is more than okay, but that's flat-out abuse. He posted a picture of the mark on the child, and look, I don't see it as being too far overboard. I don't like it, and I don't want to see those pictures and think of, I don't want to see kids hurting. I don't want to see my kid hurting. I don't want to see my kid cry when I eventually do have to spank him. I hope I don't leave a mark, but it's going to be pretty hard to whip a kid with a switch without leaving some sort of mark. It's not fun. It's not popular opinion here, but it's, do you believe it or do you not? Now it's almost not worth talking about because you come down to that. Do you believe or do you not? If you don't believe what the Bible says, if you're not Christian and you don't believe, okay, then that's the opposite side of this, and that's where the line comes in. It's you believe or you don't. So that's neither here nor there. Adrian Peterson's going to play, and I don't see how in the world he's going to be in much more trouble with the law. I mean, they arrested him. He may have to pay a fine or do something, but I think it's crazy that you can't discipline your kids anymore. So anyway, moving on, Jason, happier news. Hogs win big. What do you think about that?
Oh, man, I think it was great just seeing them, just like you were saying, just lining up, and Texas Tech knowing that we were going to run the ball and we were just running it right down their throat. And they they couldn't stop us for anything, it was beautiful in the second half. But I am going to have to disagree with you and Maddie. I would have liked to, as much as I love seeing that happen, I would have liked to see them run a few more pass plays, because when it gets into the SEC, I don't think that I think Arkansas is going to be successful at it, but against, an Alabama or Georgia or LSU or maybe even a Mississippi State, I don't think Arkansas is going to be able to line up and just run it. I think we're going to have to be able to run some play action and, get some passes that way too. On the two throws, that Allen, well, there are actually three throws. He missed Keon Hatcher on that wide open play action to start the game. He missed A.J. Derby, which I know is a tough pass, but, Derby could have caught one pass that was overthrown a little bit, and then he missed Demetrius Wilson on another play. I just think that Arkansas needs to work on their pass a little bit more than just run it.
Well, I'm with you as far as if they don't this week against Northern Illinois, if they don't pass the ball a little bit. But don't you think there's something to be said about keeping things off tape for Northern Illinois and keeping things off tape for Texas A&M? Because you run all these pass plays, and they've got a little bit more to scout you on, and right now they don't have a whole lot to scout Arkansas passing-wise. And when you know that you're getting 7 yards a pop, it'd be pretty hard for me to turn around and say, all right, we're going to pass the ball. We're 6 of 12 passing, but we're running for 7 yards a pop, and I want to turn. And then if you're at the end of a game that you're winning by 3 touchdowns, and you start passing then you get made. You get called names like Brett Bielema has so many times for running up the score. So I'm with you, Jason, as far as I would love to see them work on the pass more. And if they don't this week, going into Texas A&M, I think it'll be a little bit more of a sort of an eye-opening, like let's figure stuff out here, because you're going to have to pass the ball to win. I'm with you on that.
Yeah, and I understand what you're saying too about not showing things that we're going to play in the future more on film, but say pick out 4 or 5 passing plays, some deep outs or something to Hunter Henry, or just work on 4 or 5 maybe not really big plays or something, but 4 or 5 passes that's going to get us 6 or 7 yards or 12 yards or 10 yards or something, to not really, go for a bomb or something, but, just to work in some other short pass plays. I just think that would be beneficial.
Yeah, I'm excited about this game, man. Northern Illinois, who would have thought coming in this year I'd be excited about Northern Illinois, but they're 3-0 in the MAC. They got a 48-34 win over UNLV. They're going to be another one of those teams. It's kind of cool the way the schedule's setting up. You get that first game test against Auburn, and you see some things you love, some things you hated in that game, things to work on. You come out in the next week, you hadn't won a game in a year. You get a beat down on Nicholls State, who lost to Henderson State this weekend, by the way, and their coach resigned. They're terrible. But you got to win against a team that you could work on. Ran the ball like crazy on them. I think it was, I don't even know how many, 72 total points or 73. Just a ton of great plays. Wonderful highlights for these guys. And then you play against Texas Tech, who's going to throw the ball all over the place. And then you play against Northern Illinois, who's going to run it all over the place. You're getting a pretty good look at about everything you could need going into SEC play. I think Northern Illinois will be an even better test than Texas Tech was, but I like the way Arkansas matches up, seeing as how Northern Illinois doesn't want to pass it as much as Texas Tech did.
Yeah, I agree with you. Man, this game really scares me. I was pretty confident. I picked 38-28 last week against Texas Tech, and I thought I probably should have picked more than that, hindsight being 20/20. But this Northern Illinois team, I think the last 3 or 4 years they've lost like a total of like 3 games or something like that.
They had a guy in the Heisman last year, Jordan Lynch.
He was a good quarterback. He threw the ball and he ran the ball, but of course they don't have him back this year. But still, they're over 300 yards rushing a game, which Arkansas's defensive line really needs to step up. I thought that would be one of the strengths of the team, and Trey Flowers he really hasn't burst onto the scene like I really thought he would this year. Darius Philon's playing good, but I wanted Dietrich Wise to come on, or Bijan Jackson. Tywan Johnson's playing good. I like him.
Yep.
But I wish we'd get more of a push up front from our defensive line.
Yeah, I think you're going to see that this week. Northern Illinois ran for 331 yards, passed for 285 this week against UNLV. That's pretty balanced. It's not going to get the ball out in a half a second like Texas Tech. I think they neutralized the defensive line in the rush with the fact that they didn't want to have the ball in their hands for more than a 1 count. It was like 1,001 throw because they were afraid. I mean, their quarterback doesn't get sacked ever because they get the ball out so fast. So I think that's sort of why you didn't see as much from the defensive line. I think you're going to get to see a little bit more this week.
I don't think I've seen much from the defensive line, though, all year long, in my opinion.
No, you're right. You're right. They're going to have to come back and play much better in this next game.
Of course, against Nicholls State, we just dominated all facets of the game. But the Auburn game and the Texas Tech game, I haven't seen what I expected from the defensive line.
Well, you think that this week will be an opportunity for them to show you something?
I hope so. I hope so. I would really like to see a good pass rush when they go to, and that's not blitzing. I'm just talking from the main 4 guys. A good pass rush when they pass the ball, and then I would like our linebackers have been playing great. Brooks Ellis and Martrell Spade are just playing phenomenal right now, in my opinion. But I think I would like to see the defensive line make some stops too in the run game.
I'm just going to go ahead and say it on a Monday. I did this last week too. Arkansas is going to win Saturday.
What's the score going to be?
I'll give it to you on Friday. I'll feel it out a little bit more, but I'm looking at stats for Northern Illinois, and I'm feeling the way I do about Arkansas right now. I think that they're gonna throw the ball a little bit more. It'll probably be 125 to 150 yards passing, and probably 300 yards rushing, maybe a few less, just maybe. But I just don't see. Yeah, I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. I really am. I don't see a team stopping.
Rick Schaefer, by any chance?
Well, look, I'm not saying this about a team like Alabama or Georgia or LSU, but I am a little bit more excited than I have been about the team this year. I hope the defense can play well. I think that a lot of it was sort of the young defensive backs. I was excited with how they played. And Tevin Mitchell coming back, I have to tip the cap to him because he played pretty well coming back from injury. But I'm with you. I'm more worried about the defensive backfield than the defensive line. But I just think Arkansas is going to be able to run it on Northern Illinois. Looking at their numbers, that they've played 2 close games so far within 2 touchdowns, Northwestern and UNLV. So this will definitely be the best team and the most hostile environment that they've played in all year.
Oh, yeah, I agree with that. Just talking about the back seven, I think Josh Liddell has really stepped up, as a true freshman, just playing in spot duty. But now, when Turner or Gaines goes down, he's right in the mix there. And I think Josh Liddell is going to be a playmaker in the future. And then you had Henry Tolliver starting at cornerback this week, too, another true freshman. And, I was looking over the roster, out of everybody that plays a significant amount, most of them are either freshmen or sophomores. And it's just, I think the future is bright at Arkansas. And I told somebody today, I'm kind of drinking the Kool-Aid with you today, too. Before the season, I thought we would be 6-6. But now, after looking at the schedule, man, I think we could possibly get 7 games. Now, 8 games might be pushing it, but I think we could almost win. I think there's a chance we could win 7 games.
Did you take my Kool-Aid cup over here? Hey, look, I thought 5 wins would have been about reasonable coming into the year. That means you beat the 3 teams that you're supposed to beat in Nicholls, Texas Tech, and Northern Illinois, and then you get one against UAB later on, and you win an SEC game. Now, like I said, Jason, I think a bowl game is a possibility. You can beat 2 SEC teams. I don't know which ones. I really don't. I said Georgia, I thought, was one of the best teams in the country, and they were exposed on defense last Saturday there against South Carolina, just able to run the ball all over them. Missouri, Have they just been overly impressive? I don't think so. Texas A&M's defense, I think they're going to throw for 1,001 yards against Arkansas. But what they do is harder to do than what Arkansas does. You physically run down people's throats. It's sort of, and I said this on Friday, when you're passing the ball, 3 things can happen. 2 of them are bad. That's the old adage. I think when you're playing one of those passing teams, Texas A&M, Missouri, Texas Tech, it's easier for Arkansas to do what they do than what these other teams do. And if Arkansas can upset that balance a little bit, they can keep that offense in bad place. So I'm a little bit more excited, but I think 6 wins is more likely. I don't know which SEC games are they going to win, Jason?
Now, this is my opinion. I think the next 3, well, of course, we'll win this weekend, and then I think the next 3 games we'll lose, which will be A&M, Alabama, and Georgia. I think we can lose. We'll probably lose those 3, and then we'll win UAB, so that gets us to 4 wins. And then the next 4 games we play Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Missouri, and who else am I missing? Ole Miss, Mississippi State. Who else am I missing in there? Missouri, and who's the last 4? LSU.
LSU. Yeah.
And out of those 4 games, the 2 toughest ones are at home, which is LSU and Ole Miss. So that means we go to Starkville and go to Missouri. I think we can win 2 of those 4 games, and it wouldn't surprise me if we won 3 of those 4 games.
Wow. Even when Arkansas is good, we struggle at Starkville with those stupid cowbells and the ringing of the sound in our ears. I think Missouri playing at Missouri is going to be a tough one there, the last game of the year. But I think you get the 4 non-conference wins, and I think you can play with Georgia. I think Texas A&M is probably going to beat Arkansas in Jerry World, but I think you can stay in that game. You're going to lose to Alabama. I think you can play with Georgia, but I think ultimately Georgia wins that game, even though it's at home. You can win at Mississippi State. Honestly, I think you can win at LSU. I don't know that, or against LSU at home. I don't know that you're going to, but you can. It's been a close game the last several years, and over the past decade, it's just been that way. Ole Miss at home. Call me crazy, but I think Arkansas can hang with Ole Miss. Now, their passing game is going to be trouble. They got 2 wide receivers that are better than anybody Arkansas can put on them, so that's going to be trouble. And then at Missouri, like I said, Jason, I don't know where the wins are going to come from, but I do believe Arkansas can get 2 SEC wins this year.
I hope so, too. And I just have confidence that this year we can get to 6, go to a bowl game, get those extra days of practice, and the future, I just think, is really good for Bielema.
To me, I'm excited. I can go all day talking about this. So, all right.
I got one quick question before I get off of here.
Okay.
Just talking about Mississippi State, they've got that cowbell and stuff. How are they able to have those cowbells and nobody else across the whole country that I know of can use any kind of anything that's going to help with
noisemaker?
How are they able to do that?
This was addressed a couple years ago, and they called it a long-standing, pre-existing sort of tradition that they can bring cowbells to to me, it's crap that they can do it and nobody else can, because if you can bring cowbells, why can't we bring 72,000 air horns and just blow them the whole time you're on offense? Why not? It's our new tradition. I don't know, but it was sort of one of those things that was grandfathered into the rule that they can bring their stupid cowbells and they can make all the noise they want. It's one of those things that it's looked down upon, and don't you do it, but then they do it.
I would like to add, not that it was in the same level at all, because everybody in the stadium, it seems, at Starkville has a stupid cowbell. But there were a lot of cowbells at the Texas A&M game. Did you notice?
Texas A&M. Oh, yeah, that's one of
or
their,
not Texas A&M, sorry.
Texas Tech.
Texas Tech, yeah.
That's one of the Texas, I know it's one of the Texas A&M things with their yell practice and stuff.
They have the
shake
bells
those
too.
Stupid cowbells. What is it about Texas and stupid cowbells?
Well, they got a lot of cows.
I think we can let them keep the cowbells, but no clappers. That's the new rule. Yeah.
You can't clap?
No,
or
inside,
no clappers?
That's what makes the noise.
Gotcha. Gotcha. I thought you meant no clapping. I was like, okay, sit on your hands. Just all right. All right, Jason. Appreciate your call. Give us a call on Wednesday, all right?
All right, sounds good. Talk to you later.
That's Jason with his daily thought. Appreciate his time today. Final break. We're only going to take 2 today. We're going to hit this one, and then we're going to come back and look at the NFL and college football. We've covered a lot of stuff. Hey, the U.S. got a win in the World Cup, FIBA World Cup basketball championship. They beat Serbia in the finals. Kyrie Irving is your MVP, Maddie. Kyrie Irving, the third wheel in Cleveland.
Who does he play with again?
Your third wheel with LeBron.
That's right.
is now going to be coming back an MVP. Isn't that just something? I'm excited about that. I'm a LeBron fan. Sorry. Unapologetic, though, so I lied about the sorry. We'll be back right after the break.
Hi folks, Richard Roberts with Cogswell Motors in Russellville. You know, we've been in business since 1949. A dealership doesn't stay in business that long under the same ownership unless you're doing something right, and that's taking care of customers. We have the largest selection of new Ford, Lincoln, Mazda, and pre-owned vehicles in the River Valley. So if you want the most for your trade, the best interest rate on financing, and the best price on a new or pre-owned automobile, come to Russellville and see us. We're at 1900 East Main, or visit us on the web at cogswellmotors.com.
If you didn't count on KARK4 today this morning,
Here's what you missed.
updated news,
Police continue searching for suspects after a home intrusion overnight.
developing stories,
There's another piece of presidential history turning up here in Arkansas.
and weather and traffic on the 4s.
Friday night, Saturday morning will bring us our next chance of rain.
Every 10 minutes.
Around the clock.
Making your day easier.
So rise and shine and count on.
Count on.
KRK4 today.
Today, there are more than 20 brands of cars being sold in America. So to be noticed, Ford and Cogswell Motors have to go further than anyone thought we could. How does Ford stand out above the crowd? Not just with plug-in vehicles like the new 2013 Ford Fusion Energy that gets a projected 100 miles per gallon equivalent, but also with a line of gas vehicles equipped with the innovative EcoBoost engines combining power and efficiency, plus a full measure of technologically advanced features. We invite you to stop into Cogswell Motors today. We go further than anyone thought we could, so that you can go further too.
RiverValleyLeader.com is the #1 local source for instant news in the River Valley, offering HD video and live streaming along with top-notch coverage of all the news and events around the area. The River Valley Leader is the only place to go for all the information you need. Check out the newest local business featured on the site, as well as police news and coverage from important meetings, along with the personal stories, all at one convenient click. Check out RiverValleyLeader.com.
Sunday's NFL games going to go down. I know it was a distraction-filled week with Adrian Peterson, Ray Rice, who's going to appeal his suspension, and unless something happens, usually when you appeal a suspension, you can play during the appeal. I don't know if anybody would ever pick him up, but it'd be interesting to see if somebody did. Ray Rice going to appeal his suspension, and everybody went down Sunday. You had RG3, probably the biggest name of the entire weekend, dislocated ankle, apparently may have even broken or torn some ligaments in his ankle, going to have surgery, possibly out for the year. That's rough. AJ Green was out for his game. The Bears lost 5 defensive starters during the game. During one game, they lost 5 defensive starters, and then, maybe it was the 49ers. It was the Bears that lost 5 defensive starters. The 49ers lost 1, and just all kinds of craziness that happened on Sunday, yesterday in the NFL games. Sorry, I had some autoplay video there because I love ESPN and their autoplay videos. But man, just some of the teams that won yesterday, some of the teams that lost, it was wild to me. We were talking in the break. Did anybody who could make a living prognosticating NFL games has got to be a freaking genius. Because how could you possibly have seen New Orleans losing again, like the way that they lost in the first week to Atlanta? Okay, it's a division rival. They came back and played well. They're very talented offensively. But to lose 26-24 to Cleveland in week 2, I'm shocked. Let's see any other ones that shocked me. Seattle lost to San Diego. I didn't see that as shocking, but I did pick Seattle to win that game, and it really wasn't even that close. San Diego dominated that game. Phillip Rivers played well, and the Seattle Seahawks, apparently, Maddie, the San Diego receivers and team were saying that they exposed Richard Sherman. He didn't like that much. He said 3 passes, no touchdowns, no explosive plays, and you're saying I got exposed? Make me laugh type thing. I do think it's funny how Seattle plays on the road. They're a completely different team at home and on the road. And in all fairness, the new NFL drug policy that allows for HGH testing every week, I thought it was kind of funny when I came out and basically stopped short of accusing Seattle's entire team of being on PEDs, that the week that they implement the ability to test, which I guess it'll come into effect later, but the week they vote on it, Seattle loses. It's like they were all puffed up, and then they're like, oh, I got to go back down to normal now because I can't take my PEDs.
Don't have my roids.
Don't have my steroids this week. Allegedly, as Jim Rome would say. Chicago 28-20 winners over San Francisco. Colin Kaepernick did not look good passing the football. He was all right. They got up 17-0, and then Chicago came storming back. Brandon Marshall, I started him. 3 touchdowns on a game-time decision, and I still lost. Doesn't matter. But I started Brandon Marshall, and Chicago wins 28-20. Oakland loses to Houston 30-14. Oakland, perhaps the worst team in the NFL. They're just terrible at every level. And Houston, good for them coming back. It means Ryan Mallett probably won't ever play, but Fitzpatrick played pretty well, and Houston wins that game. They got Andre Johnson. They've got Arian Foster back to 100%. J.J. Watt, dude's a beast. Caught a touchdown pass in the game. So playing a defensive end and then come in and catch a touchdown pass. You know what I would do if I were a defense and I saw the best defensive player in the world come into the game? I'd probably put 4 people on him and say, you're going to score with somebody else. Because what do you think's going to happen? Are they going to throw it to someone? Are they going to use him as a decoy? No, they brought him off the bench, off his rest time, on the goal line to do what? To make SportsCenter from scoring a touchdown. That's just my opinion. I don't think I've ever seen a superstar used as a decoy. But anyway, Green Bay 31-24 winners over the New York Jets. Denver 24-17 winners over Kansas City. That was a heart stopper there in Denver, as Kansas City had a chance at the goal line to score a touchdown to tie the game, was unable to do so. Niall Davis, shout out, 2 touchdowns, 100 yards between receiving and rushing there for Kansas City, as Jamal Charles, another one of the injuries of the day, went down. He played very well, Niall Davis. Congratulations. If there's ever been someone who deserved to be able to stay healthy, it'd have to be Niall Davis. Like, that guy's been through more injuries than anybody I've ever known. St. Louis 19-17 winners over Jason's Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Sorry, guys. You had a chance to get a win and you couldn't get it done. Buffalo 29-10 winners over Miami. It's a little bit of a surprise there. Washington 41-10 over Jacksonville. RG3 hurt. Cousins comes in and plays well. I think he's going to be a better fit for this offense. I don't think people like to hear that, but Arizona 25-14 winners over the New York Giants. That's one of the few that we got right when we called it. New England 30-7, one of the other few that we got right calling that game. We mentioned New Orleans falling to Cleveland. Cincinnati 24-10 over Atlanta, just imposed their will on the Falcons. I thought the Falcons would win that game, and I was wrong. Carolina, Detroit, another one I was very wrong on, as the Panthers won 24-7. Detroit just not quite there yet as far as physically playing against one of those teams that can knock your block off in Carolina. Cam Newton played well enough to win the game, and the Panthers get the W in that one. Moving over to college football, nothing really too surprising other than South Carolina, number 24 in the country, beating Georgia in the game of the week, 38-35. Georgia, I had higher expectations for them. I'll just be honest. I thought they were going to be a little better, and I didn't think South Carolina was as good. But South Carolina just ran, and both teams, to give credit, both just ran it down the other's throat. And Todd Gurley, my goodness.
He is a freak of nature.
If that guy doesn't win the Heisman, something happens. Yeah. Like, he gets severely injured or somebody just comes out of the woodwork, because I don't think Marcus Mariota is going to win it. I think the front runner always has a really, really tough time. His stats can almost never live up to what you expected of him, you know. So I think that Todd Gurley is the best player in college football. And South Carolina, a big win at home there to stay in the SEC East race. Florida nearly lost to Kentucky. It was a triple overtime game against Kentucky. Mark Stoops getting the guys up.
Did they get the ball off?
No.
Yeah. I didn't think so either.
But
My
man,
dad was watching it. He said he watched it over and over. He's like, it didn't. He said it was 0 for almost a full second before the ball moved.
They do that, man. It's hard to just blow the whistle right at 0. They give them basically through the 0 and to another second, and then they throw it, and it's just tough. I don't want to talk about Boston College, USC. I'll never root for USC again as long as I live. I felt dirty for doing it anyway. I hate their guts. And I remember my good friend Sean Caldwell, who was at the USC-Arkansas game when they beat us like 70-13 or something like that, just killed Arkansas. And I texted him and I asked him what he thought, and he said that he was too busy committing suicide. He was talking about jumping off the back of the stadium. He was very upset. And since then, I haven't been a big fan of USC. What in the world caused me to root for them on the road as the biggest favorite of the weekend, the number 9 team in the country, the highest-ranked team in the country to lose so far this year? I'll never root for them again. Texas, my second favorite team, won on Saturday. Yeah,
UCLA.
Whoever's playing Texas. Yeah, UCLA. I'll have a new favorite team, second favorite team this
Who
week.
do they play next week? Who do I need to root
Texas
for?
is playing. Let me look. The eyes of Texas are crying right now as Texas sucks, and I'm happy about it. I couldn't be more happy about it. Texas.
Well, did you see? This is on subject with Texas.
Okay.
They gave away the ball in the first and second half. Did you see?
Yeah, they did that to Arkansas in 2004 when we played them here at Fayetteville. Derek Johnson, he got hurt too this week, out for the year. Rough day for the Kansas City Chiefs, but he did the same thing. Basically, it's kind of confusing when they ask you, they flip the coin and they say, okay, you can choose heads or tails. You get it right, and then they say, and your coach has told you we want to kick, because if you kick, then you're basically saying we want the ball in the second half. Well, it's kind of confusing because they'll say you want to kick, and you say, yes, I want to kick. What you really should say is I want to defer to the second half. I want to defer my choice to the second half. So in the first half, they can get the choice. Well, they decided to kick even though the other team had deferred. So the other team got the ball in the second half by their decision, and then Texas gave it to them in the first half. Arkansas, Texas,
And they lost by
did the
3.
same thing. Yeah, they're idiots, man. Maybe send a coach out there with you to figure out what to do on the coin
Well, I
flip.
saw
What do I do,
the
coach?
clip. Charlie Strong was not pleased.
You can't do that.
the right word.
Teach them, yeah.
Defer.
We defer the choice to the second,
syllables,
or teach
that's
them. Just teach them what the word defer means. Like we defer to the second half. We defer our choice to the second half. Or if you win and you defer, we'll take the ball because we're not going to have the choice in the second half. Kansas, they'll be my second favorite team next week. They're going to get beat because they're terrible, but I'll be rooting for them against Texas because who doesn't love rooting against Texas? Notre Dame wins 30-14 against Purdue. Ole Miss 56-15 over Louisiana Lafayette. No other real big games on the weekend except for ECU, East Carolina, beat Virginia Tech. I thought I wouldn't pick that game because I was afraid that East Carolina and Virginia Tech was like a 10-point favorite. I thought, how in the world are they giving 10 points, let alone it just being a pick 'em, because I didn't know who I would pick to win that game. And not only did East Carolina take those points and run, they won the game outright. So that's a big win for them, big loss for Virginia Tech, who looked awful. So, all right, we got to get out of here. We'll be back on Wednesday at 11 o'clock to talk much more. Maddie's got something to say.
One last thing before we leave. I just think we need to bask in this for a minute, even if it's premature. You're talking about Eastern Carolina. Is it East or Eastern?
East.
East Carolina. We played them, bowl game, Ryan Mallett's first year, right?
That was a while back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway,
It was actually,
that's beside the point.
Yeah.
They're receiving some votes for top 25,
Yeah.
which
Hey,
you
Northern
would.
Illinois they're 3-0. They're getting some
but
love.
you would. Well, after this past weekend, as premature as
2-0,
it may
sorry.
be, Arkansas is receiving votes for the
3-0.
top 25, and I think that
Yeah,
is something
okay.
that we should be really, really happy about. that it's not just Arkansas fans who think that we're a lot better. There are people voting who think, hey, Arkansas, they're a lot better. They're not the 2013 Razorbacks, and I love that because we've, it's only been these couple of years where we've been really bad, but it hurts.
Unfortunately,
I want to be back.
You're going to have to play 3 top 10 teams in a row. So
Yeah.
if you don't look good and or win one of those games,
Then it doesn't matter.
It goes bye-bye. If you win one of those games, especially if you win Texas A&M, you're going to be in the top 25 when you play Alabama. And then it just kind of depends on how good you look against Alabama, whether or not you are considered the rest of the year. If Alabama comes in and beats you 52-0 again.
We put ourselves in a position. We put ourselves in a position so far through this season.
Kool-Aid.
Yeah, that's right. Kool-Aid, drinking it up,
We're drinking
man.
it in while we can.
Hey,
I've got
we
Arkansas
need it.
beating Northern Illinois. I do, and they're 3-0. I said 3-0, 2-0, 3-0. They beat Presbyterian 55-3. That's their Nicholls State game. They beat Northwestern 23-15, who's not any good, and then they beat UNLV 48-34. So we've seen they can put some points on the board. I have a hard time believing that their defense is going to be much better than Texas Tech's. So I think Arkansas 7 yards in a cloud of dust every time they feel like it. And I think they'll win that game. In Fayetteville, fun crowd, fun win against a team that has a pulse.
We can
I'm
put them
just
on the
excited.
show Monday.
I think let's do it. All right, let's get out of here. A little overboard today, but that's all right because we're on the internet. We don't have any time restrictions. We can do what we want.
Say what we want.
Give us a call, 968 News. That's on Wednesday, 11 to noon. And give me an email if you'd like. If you love or hate some of the things we had to say today, mark@rivervalleyleader.com. I'd love to hear from you. And we'll talk to you again on Wednesday. For David, who started the show, and Maddie, who finished it, I'm Mark, saying so long. Weldon's not here. He did have a happy birthday, though. I told him about that. He thought that was hilarious. I said Weldon Braxton was in the room on Friday. But anyway, we'll be back on Wednesday at 11 o'clock at rivervalleyleader.com. We appreciate your time. Have a good day.